Good morning. We're about to get started with our first panel and speaker. So if you guys want to kind of make your way over to this area, that would be wonderful. So welcome. Is anyone here brand new to the assemblage? Yay, welcome, welcome. It's really good to have you here today. So my name is Sarah Burns, and I am the Membership Experience Manager here at the John Street location. A little bit about the space. So we are essentially a place where we believe that interdependency is the key to making the future a better place for all. We have office spaces for teams of any size. We have social spaces for gatherings and events like this. And then we have a fully functioning hotel connected to this particular location. We also have daily wellness programming. We have evening events. And then we have an amazing organic cafe located on the third floor. It's not open yet, but it will be on Monday. So a couple other things, just to do some housekeeping. I just heard a cell phone. If we could just silence all of our phones as the speakers are going to be speaking. We don't want to interrupt them. Also, the restrooms are located over to the left of me. And we have amazing Sarissa at the Elixir Bar if you're interested in getting a celestial elixir. So if anyone is interested in becoming a member and or hosting an event here, we have these wonderful day passes, and anyone who you see this little thing on can probably get you one of them. You can also book a tour on our website. So without further ado, I'm going to be introducing Neil, wherever you are, Neil. There he is. Okay, perfect. And welcome to the assemblage.
Good morning. Thank you all for joining us. We're so glad that you're here. So, as she mentioned, I'm Neil Ludevig. I'm the CEO of Moon 31. I'm the curator from all the panels that are at Winter Jazz Fest this year. So, I want to take some time to share a bit more of what Winter Jazz Fest is about and what we're doing here. So, this has been actually an incredible weekend of events. We've got still another weekend coming up. This is Winter Jazz Fest's 16th year. So it started very small, but it now reaches more than 16,000 people over 10 days, 22 venues in 2 boroughs. So there is a lot happening. This talk is part of the expansion that has happened. This year, we actually quintupled the amount of conversations that we've had from previous years. We've talked about a lot of different issues, from social justice to equality. This year, we're actually taking a look at wellness in the arts. It's an extremely important issue that is affecting many of the most inspiring people, and we're interested in deconstructing and destigmatizing a lot of the things that are often not spoken about. Everything from physical health to mental health to substance abuse to addiction to recovery. And that's really what has been a focus for this year. This conversation is taking a global look at what health is about. So I put together this group of individuals that are true change makers. They're making a difference in the industry in a number of different ways. So I'd like to start bringing them up here. We've got, they can come on up, and I'll pass it on to our moderator, who will introduce everyone for you. But please, if you want to find out more about Winter Jazz Fest and what we're doing, check out our website, winterjazzfest.com. Check out Moon 31. We create innovative experiences that create platforms for meaningful conversations. And we're in partnership this year with Winter Jazz Fest alongside This is Equilibrium, which focuses on wellness in the arts and the music industry. So I'm going to hand it over to Amer, and he's going to take it away. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you at the end of the talk.
Nice. Thank you, Neil. Good morning, guys. Congratulations for making it out. You're welcome. I don't know what everyone was doing last night, but we made it here. This is good. This is sexy. My name is Amer. Just for 1 second context, my company is called Future Meets Present. In short, imagine if Al Gore and Skrillex ran IDEO. We bring sustainability to life through design. And my past life, I was a DJ. So talking to these guys, the intersection of environment and arts, super exciting to me. And I'm just going to go down the line, and we're going to introduce you guys briefly, and then we'll just dive right in. To my right, we have Justin Ahiyon. You guys heard of the House of Yes? Anybody been to the House of Yes? Sick? Maybe that's why half the audience is missing because of your venue from last night. So just taken from the website, the House of Yes is a temple of expression dedicated to creativity, connection, and celebrating life. Thank you, man, for creating that. Jesse Lewis, right? We got Jesse Lewis, an artist from Biophilic Records, which is, in paraphrasing, Biophilic Records is an organization that brings artists with the intention of channeling their creative energy towards environmental impact. How does that sound? Sounds great. Hot. Next, Emily Moxon, Managing Director of Brownswood Recordings. I'm interested to hear a little bit more about this. I explored your website. It started in 2006. Brownsville Recordings, a platform for new artists to do something different, as well as established artists. And restless, open-minded, the label has championed independent, eclectic music from UK and beyond. And finally, we have Cassia Patel, the program manager from Oceanic Global. Imagine just a powerhouse, a global powerhouse of influencers, artists, policymakers that are just distributing information, best practices about how people and companies can be best for the planet, specifically the ocean. Sound about right? Great. We'll dive a little bit deeper. I just want to start, touching on, what are your guys' origin stories? Where did this line begin for you, and how did it get into where you are now? Anybody?
In respect to the environment, or
Your origin story, how it got you into the House of Yes.
okay, well, I was a drummer and percussionist touring all around the world with a big focus on world music, and I basically just got sick of... Whoa!
Yo, thank you.
Rescue.
Thank you.
You good?
Yeah, we're good.
Take it easy.
Strong cocktail, man.
I kind of just got sick of touring so much and being away from home and my girlfriend, so I decided to try and open a venue where I could perform at and stay in New York, because I also just love New York. It's my favorite city. And I linked up with a couple of friends of mine. We all know each other through Burning Man. We've been going for over a decade, so we share a lot of the same values and the same kind of interest in wearing costumes and like expressing ourselves and reinventing ourselves all the time and pushing the envelope. And that's basically how it all started. We're all artists. None of us are really business people, the four partners. And we got very, very lucky because it was, I think, the right idea at the right time in the right location. And it just hit the ground running, and it's been an amazing journey so far.
Cool. Hello. Yeah, so I'm a guitarist, and I've been working for a long time on trying to be the best musician that I can be and the best person, and primarily I play in the world of jazz, but about 10 years ago I met a bass player named Ike Sturm. And we started a band called Endless Field, and our music is really inspired by nature. We have a friend named Fabian Almazan who started this label called Biophilia Records. And as Amer said, it's a label where the artists are trying to do positive things for the planet and community through volunteering and community outreach and stuff. And so our friend Fabian asked us to become a part of this, and it was just a really great connection because of our love for nature and our music and what the label is about. So recently I've just been really involved with this group Endless Field and trying to make a positive impact through our music, and we can talk more about that, but yeah.
Hi, I'm the managing director of Brownswood Recordings. It's an independent record label based out of the UK. My partner is Giles Peterson, who's a kind of creative powerhouse, broadcaster, tastemaker, involved also in radio and the festival space. So outside of the label, I guess there's a few different kind of activities being run out of our office. I'm also part of the Association for Independent Labels, which is the kind of UK equivalent of AIFM, I think the US organisation is. So that's an organisation made up of independent record labels looking at issues that are specific to our industry. Last year we started a climate action steering group, really looking at climate issues very specifically to independent record labels and the kind of associated issues to do with live music and touring. And that's become like a huge passion of mine. I was like suffering from a lot of climate anxiety before that, and it's been really helpful to really look at the part of the world that I am in control of and see how we can incorporate best practices there, and I guess use our influence outside of that to try and affect consumer behaviour and other elements of the chain.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Cassia, the program director of Oceanic Global, and Amer summed it up nicely. And our mission really is to engage new audiences in ocean conservation. So, engaging individuals and more grassroots action for consumer behavioral change, but then also engaging industries and businesses, and so helping stakeholders at a higher level create that more scalable behavioral change. And so in that mission, we do tap into universal passions, primarily music and dance and more creative expression forms. And so we do a lot of work in the music industry. We're thrilled to be working with the House of Yes, and to be working with a few record labels in the UK as well, and to also be working with artists. And so not only engaging the venues themselves, so the festivals and the nightclub and the nightlife venues as well, but also engaging the artists and helping them include a blue rider into their contracts so that they are tackling single-use plastics that are present backstage in green rooms and in DJ booths as they tour, but then also looking at the carbon emissions piece and offsetting emissions associated with travel, or even thinking more about how to reduce some of those emissions. Our work primarily is in plastic and waste, but using that as a gateway to speak about other issues that are more present and in some cases more difficult to access. And so I'm sure we'll dive into it more deeply. But.
Yeah, let's actually keep that going. Talk to us about a project recently that got you really excited, maybe about its impact or about its involvement or something like that as it connects music with your mission.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think we're excited to see how artists are leading this campaign. I think one example, we're tapping into seeing how Jack Johnson is really growing this movement and launching campaigns like the Bring Your Own Bottle campaign or the BYL Bottle campaign, and seeing how you can also use the incredible power that music has to bring people together to also engage fans. So it's not just what's happening at the venue and in the concert, but then also what people are taking home with them and the practices that they are making part of their muscle memory and their behavior. We're working with URock Agency in that way and engaging the artists and trying to roll out these strategies. And we're also thrilled to be working with Reverb in this mission too. So Reverb is an incredible organization, and they work with artists to help them green their tours, really looking holistically in that approach. So we're thrilled to be partnering with them on a few projects that they have upcoming this year, including in Mexico. So there's a big venue in Cancun that we're helping them create to be plastic free, and for this series of concerts that will be coming there, and then hoping to also tap into some of the tours that they're working on. So excited to see the impact there.
Fantastic. Emily, I'm wondering if you could take over from here and talk to us about some of the things that you've seen in your world.
So I think with the environmental group that I'm a part of, we're primarily looking at the kind of consumption of recorded music. Independent labels tend to have a more create more physical products. They tend to be like less streaming focused than the major labels. So we've been looking quite a lot at the kind of carbon footprint of vinyl production. I think in a lot of consumer minds, like vinyl is quite a benign product because it's not something that people tend to like throw away a lot, and it has quite a kind of good circular economy at the kind of end of its lifespan. I think people tend to bequeath them, donate them to charity. There's a huge second-hand vinyl economy as well. But we've just been learning about PVC as a type of plastic and what a toxic product that is. We've been looking a lot at the movement of vinyl. For example, our factory have quite green practices, but we were still air freighting our product to the US and Japan, and then that kind of gets you thinking about why you're creating a product that people in the US can't wait 6 weeks for it to come by sea, like why consumers need to have everything so now. I think in the 80s, people kind of used to waiting. In Europe, we used to wait for like hip-hop imports to come in from the US, and they'd arrive like 6 months after the release. So we're looking a lot at that. One of our actions for this year is to eliminate 180-gram vinyl. There's been a lot of fetishization of vinyl as a product, and in consumers' minds, people often associate something that's heavier with being good quality, but actually having 180-gram vinyl doesn't increase the sound quality at all of the product. So that's we're re-educating consumers that 140-gram vinyl is fine, and we've moved to that. Brownswood eliminated using plastic in our CD packaging about 12 years ago. So we have a 100% recyclable cardboard package around our CDs. I've been shocked to learn there's still 40 million dual case products a year being manufactured in Europe alone. This is like a terrible product. Everyone who has a dual case CD will know how easily they get smashed. The fascias break, the corners get bashed. The product has a very heavy carbon footprint at the manufacture stage. They're impossible to recycle. So I think, again, it's about educating consumers, and especially I think the jazz industry in America is terrible for this. They're very stuck to this product. So just getting people to really think about what they're consuming and the impact of it.
In the development of Brownswood recordings, was this a conversation that was had earlier on, or was it later where you guys are like, man, we have a pool of influence here, we should be doing something about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously something, these concerns are something that we've all been aware of for a long time. I think the kind of urgency has increased, and I think sustainability and environmental concerns are really becoming very baked into all of our decision making now, and it's not something that's tacked on at the end of a meeting. It's something that we're talking about on every issue, yeah.
And so speaking about Justin, in the context of a sphere of influence, you guys are this hub as well of a source of culture in my eyes. Talk to me about some of the decisions you guys have made.
Sure. I was raised by an environmental scientist. My stepfather is the dean of environmental science at St. John's. So I have a deep wanting to make dad proud thing. I've actually only realized that recently when I really meditated on how come other people aren't getting so excited about it. I think for me personally, there is some kind of call my stepfather and tell him how many cups we saved kind of thing. So it's just something to note, because I'm always thinking of how to inspire other people to really get behind it and get excited, because it's a pain in the ass to retrain your staff and make sure they really get with the program. It's a lot of work, but I'm just kind of putting that out there. So we started working with Cassia, I guess because it's kind of an unknown. For me, it's just inherent since childhood that this is always a thing that's been in my house spoken about. Oceanic is incredible. They come into your company and they audit everything you do from top to bottom and just tell you how to make it better. They don't make you feel bad if you can't do everything. They make you feel really good, actually, and they're so positive. They came and spoke to my whole staff, I think twice, right now? And that really got the staff behind the project. And it really takes the whole team to be behind it and excited about it. And now everybody is like glancing in the trash and this and that and taking stuff out. And it's just like a whole network of people working together to make it happen in the club itself. And we definitely want to raise the awareness. I mean, we have proven that you can save money and actually make money by reducing single-use plastic. So that's a fact, and that's amazing, because that is really the hardest thing for business owners to wrap their head around. I mean, I was just talking to Cassia. I feel like myself, anytime something new comes along or a big change, I have 50 other things to do, 1,000 emails waiting. And it's very easy for business owners to just feel overwhelmed right away and just push it aside. I'll call you next month, which means you're never getting a call if somebody says that to you. So finding a way to have, I think somebody needs to put together like a succinct P&L, profit and loss statement, like per event that they can just sell. I know Neil was working on this. He interviewed me recently. And I think that would be a really good way. I don't know how great that interview went, but, like we switched to, for instance, paper straws, but we're only giving them out by request. We're saving a lot of money that way. We did this thing at a Halloween party. We had like 12,000 people, and all of the cups were reused. So it's thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of cups that are not going in the ocean. Basically, the customer pays $1 to rent the cup, and then they get the $1 back if they give it back to you. And everybody's excited about it. Nobody was complaining about it, and nobody returned their cup. So we ended up actually making money. And there are a lot of ways to save or actually earn money and get rid of single-use plastics. That's a really inspiring thing. It's just having the right salesman to pitch that to people, which Oceanic is fantastic at doing that. I think I've been thinking about this a lot, that plastic, must have come on the market and just been like an absolute godsend for everybody. And it's so useful and for so many things. And it's so deeply entrenched that, kind of like what Emily said, like I get this climate anxiety big time. And I like what you said about, okay, take a deep breath and like start in your own house and then in your own business and really locally in your own neighborhood. And that really like reduces the anxiety and makes you feel like empowered to make an impact. Because that anxiety can be crippling and it can make you just say, forget the whole thing, or at least get a nihilistic view of things every day when you wake up. I mean, it's so overwhelming. But once I took the approach of like starting in my own home and then with my own family and then my own nightclub and then our offsite events, and now we're working in Times Square with this whole hotel. And it's like little by little by little, try not to overwhelm yourself. I really think that's such a great approach, Emily, that, and that's such a big problem that people have. That's a hard problem to overcome. Yeah, and Oceanic, I mean, I basically do whatever they say.
They have been amazing, and I should have used them as our first case study, but it's been really incredible working with them since the Earth Fest event in April of last year, and actually having that to be a successful event, fully plastic-free, reusable cups, the paper straws, and an off-site event for them too, so it wasn't in their, home space where they had been cultivating some of these issues, and so that was amazing, and as a venue, just truly exemplifying what it means to be implementing those best practices, and like Justin said, tens of thousands of cups that were able to be reusable and to make money, and so really exciting to see what's happening there.
I mean, it's probably hundreds of thousands of pieces of plastic all told, and it's really incredible, and we couldn't have done it without their help. So organizations like that are so key. I mean, the interesting thing to me is that when we take away straws at the bar, or take away napkins, or take away all this junk that you don't need. There's so much of it out there, especially in hospitality. Just this single-use crap that is so unnecessary. And so we take it away, and the customers are all for it, and they're totally behind it, and they're like cheering us on. But then they all go outside, go to the taco truck, and just get all plastic. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, where it's like they're into it, they're behind it, but then it just kind of goes out the window. Well, I'm not sure if that's true. I'm sure there is some impact happening, but how do we really get them to like not just go outside and just ditch everything? that they learned, if you know what I mean. That's kind of what I'm wrapping my head around right now, is making a lasting impact, because it's everywhere, you know, every coffee shop and every restaurant and bar and club and stadium. I mean, wow, she was just telling me she's working with stadiums. It's, what do you need all that crap for? It's so unnecessary. Yeah, so that's where we're at.
But I think it's like, this is where like you as like a cultural leader can really make a difference, because like I think attitudes change really quickly. You know, like I think 2 years ago I came to New York and I wasn't shocked to see a plastic straw, but that conversation has moved so hard and so fast in the UK, and it's not, you know, the UK is not a particularly progressive place, but David Attenborough is a huge icon for us, and I think he made that conversation very mainstream, and plastic straws are, I think, illegal now, and you certainly don't see them anywhere. I'm shocked to see them
It's
here.
true. You wouldn't. A restaurant shouldn't be caught dead with one anymore. Which is, yeah, it's true. It's amazing. That is really amazing.
Thank you. Jesse, talk to us, man, about what kind of things you're seeing. I mean, as an artist, you have the opportunity to literally say a message. That's one channel. And then in your network, you have this other channel, and your connection with Biophilia Records. What's exciting for you right now?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm just really deeply inspired by you guys and everything you're talking about. It's really, really cool. Music, I feel is, and you know, I think Emily spoke about it, or Cassie, like it's a thing that just brings people together, right, in the spirit of love and peace. I mean, it's just like one of those things that we all have, that everybody on the entire planet loves, right? I mean, everybody's always, you know, you're never going to find somebody that's like, I hate music, you know? So it just has an advantage in that way, that it brings people together in that spirit, you know, in the spirit of like, we want to be in this moment together as an audience, or, but it's also, I mean, for me, it's peaceful. And, you know, I've just been thinking, you know, like the rest of the people here, about what can I do? It's so overwhelming, and there's so many different ways, I think, to be an activist, what I'm doing with my friends and community of musicians is trying to create music and just bring people together through music in that spirit, but try and support organizations that I feel like are on the front lines, doing really critical work, so to try and create awareness around organizations and inspire action. So you know, we're trying lots of different things. We've been our group has presented. This was our second year presenting a concert called Living Earth. And it was a music festival that we presented at St. Peter's Church in New York, and all the artists have donated their performance, and it was a benefit for the Natural Resources Defense Council, and that was amazing, you know, to see all these people, music fans and you know, environmental activists come together and to support the NRDC. As I was telling you earlier, we went out to Utah this summer to record our next album. We went for 2 weeks. We were out in the desert, me and my buddy, and we recorded an album entirely in the wilderness. It's going to be coming out in May or June on Biophilia. It'll be called Alive in the Wilderness. And, you know, as a way to show all the beauty, you know, of nature that's around us, and also to hopefully inspire people to think about protecting it. And we're going to be donating 100% of the proceeds from that album also to the NRDC to support their work, you know, in fighting climate change and protecting wildlife areas. And so for us, you know, we just want to create music, bring people together in the spirit of love and peace, and then try and put a spotlight on organizations and kind of bring people, you know, to think about supporting and becoming involved in, you know, the fight to it's really a fight, to protect all these things that are sacred to us. So.
Yeah, I like this idea of tipping points, and I like the idea of creating conditions for things to tip and for things to change. As an artist, you are speaking to people's spirits and speaking to people's hearts and giving melody and song and word that will inspire people. As organizations, you are doing that through your own channels. Let's talk about tipping points for a second. Single-use plastics as a wonderful gateway drug. Easy thing for us to start eliminating, and you proved the business case for it. What's beyond this? What are we thinking about? What are we looking at beyond this? What are tipping points looking like?
I'm happy to jump in quickly. I think so for us, definitely thinking of single-use plastics as more of this gateway drug, and that's more physical, and that there's a lot of political momentum around, and it's something that you interact with every day. So it's great in terms of fan engagement or consumer engagement because you see a plastic cup, you see a plastic straw. But then speaking about some of these more intangibles as a next step, so talking more about emissions, climate change is this really amorphous concept that's often hard to internalize, but speaking, and I think Emily can speak to this more about how they've been tackling the emissions within their own production lines and engaging artists in that way. But for us, as we work with businesses and in venues especially, looking at wastewater management as well as sustainable food and seafood procurement, and looking at the management there as well of even noise and light and how that's impacting wildlife too, especially in coastal regions. And so as we're working in places across the globe where really black water is being dumped directly into the ocean, maybe that's more of a concern. And so we do tailor our programs based on the region and what are the greatest needs and priorities of that region.
Do you guys work on like water conservation and hospitality?
Yes.
Because I think that's the next thing. We should tackle that. When can you come by?
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And we'll be releasing a water use guide actually soon. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for us, we've been kind of looking at a whole like menu of stuff, and it does start with the personal. Like I think. Switching. There's things that everyone can do, like switching to a less meat-based and eat more plants is really good. I think engaging in activism is really important. So we closed our office as part of the global strike on the 20th of September. Had a lot of learnings. We had an album out that day. The artist and their management went off the hook berserk that our office was closed the day his album came out. So I was like, okay, the next one's in March. We're definitely not putting out an album that day. So like planning ahead with those kind of things. And I think looking at offsets, I think offsets are definitely not a solution, and no one should think they can kind of buy their way out of this. But I think it is really important to audit your carbon emissions as a company and look at your company travel and how much you're flying and what you're producing, and then look at how you can offset that. And it can be like literally planting trees, or it can be contributing. I offset my flights here with a donation to Client Earth, who are an organisation of like kick-ass lawyers that are going around like suing governments and making stuff happen there. So yeah, it's like a whole menu of things. And then also looking at your energy suppliers as a company. So in the UK, arts organisations have come together and bought an energy package from a company called Good Energy, which is 100% renewable, and anyone who signs up to it, all their staff can also sign up to it. You can gain a badge for your company that you're using renewable energy. So just things like that. So like you start with yourself and then you try and amplify it around you.
Yeah, and there are rebates. We just switched our energy, and we get like a huge, I mean, it cost us $8,000 up front, but we get a huge rebate, and we get like tax implications and stuff like that, where it's like a different type of sensor and a different type of thermostat, which saves a ton of energy over the year. So little things like that, little things add up to a lot of savings, and it's really good for the environment. I mean, one tipping point that I noticed was talking to Oceanic. I think you guys were working with some really massive company, like a hotel, And I was like, how is the company going to afford to implement this switch? And what they told me was that the hotel was actually taking the money out of their marketing budget because it's such a marketable thing, going green, and people really, like to support companies that do that. And I really think that's a tipping point, because you always have to look at like which department is going to be depleted, and no department wants to give up all their resources to something like that, because it's not like a in-your-face immediate result. But the fact that marketing budgets are covering the costs because it's just so good for the company as a whole is a really great thing. And House ES is definitely trying to capitalize on that as well. Like, we can benefit by being known as a green company while doing the right thing. And that's just a win-win.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think on that note, marketing teams have definitely been the most receptive and the most interested when we approach, especially with stadiums as well. And also, it's helpful when you do approach businesses from the top down. And so when this is, for example, we work with Sandals Resorts International, so across all 19 locations across 7 Caribbean islands to fully eliminate single-use plastics. They're rounding out the corner. They're nearly there. We're helping them with a few more items. But we're talking about millions of single-use plastic items every year that we're able to divert. So far, 26.2 million. But that number is growing. And so with that, because it was something that the CEO wanted to do, that really trickled down. And that was just what became the ethos of their company, much in the same way with House of Yes. And with stadiums, we're approaching at the team owner or the stadium management level and seeing how that can trickle down from there as well. And Justin mentioned too, another really important aspect is employee training. So even if it does come from the top down, which it may need to, it's really important to then engage every level of employee, from dishwashers to bartenders to the housekeeping staff if it's a hotel, so that you're really fully implementing those practices. So any changes that you make are successful, and it's not lost in the next round of hires, or it's not lost on as things shift around.
Yeah, that I would say is the biggest challenge. The good thing about having Oceanic come and talk to our whole staff is that it became like kind of a fun game where we're all kind of watching each other and, trying to catch each other. But I mean, we're all like a bunch of freaks, so that's how we operate. But it's actually become a fun thing and not drudgery, and not just an added task. So that really helped.
Do you have any thoughts, Jesse, about anything that you're seeing in terms of, perhaps in your context, in terms of artists and music, what do you see as being something that's next level?
I mean, I don't know. I'm in awe of what you guys are doing. The only thing I can really speak to is just that I know my community and it seems like the larger community, everybody's just looking for a way to help. We all kind of feel a little desperate about the situation, and I think most musicians and artists just intrinsically have big hearts and want to do whatever they can. So I don't know. I just I think it's interesting to maybe for you guys and other people kind of in leadership positions to engage artists and maybe ask, would you like to do something? We're going to do this event. Would you like to help? I think that you'll find, most people really do want to help. So I don't know. That's a thought.
Well, I want to get a quick temperature check here too, and just see kind of, how many people here are students? Okay, maybe business owners, or maybe working in businesses that you wish would start changing. Okay. What about some sort of frustrations or challenges that you're seeing? I mean, we're hearing a lot of really great implementations from entrepreneurs, and you have so many different types of use guides, I think, programs for companies to take on, right? Can we talk about challenges, things that maybe other nightclubs that aren't doing things that you think are super easy to do, or the companies that you're just maybe thick-headed or aren't listening?
I mean, I think that I really need to get this colorful P&L. I mean, the great thing about Oceanic is they send you like 2 pages, and they're like just so sellable. They're colorful, and they're like fun to read through, and it's very succinct. It's kind of like when you go to like a cool cafe with a really pretty menu. You just like looking at it. I think we need to come up with something that shows some of these, just a quick snapshot of like, this is real, this is a really popular club in Brooklyn, and these are the numbers, They're saving money here, they're making money there, and this is the impact. And I just have not found time to do that. But I need to find someone to do that.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. We're starting.
Let's do it. Let's do it together. Yeah. All right. Cool. Because I think that will be effective. I mean, me as a business owner, if I hear from a neighboring business who's doing really well, and they just show me like, listen, it's of no benefit to me if they change. It's a benefit to all of us, obviously, globally. But you just drop that on their desk, and it's kind of a no-brainer. But it needs to be sold.
One massive frustration that I just had is we just released a record where we wanted to experiment with not shrink wrapping it. So consumers have become very demanding about having mint vinyl products, and we find we get a lot returned to us from stores saying it's unsellable if like the corner of the cardboard gets like dinked or something. So we wrapped, it's kind of like a Japanese obi strip. We wrapped a piece of paper around the record and explained on it that it was a sustainable alternative to shrink wrap. And our distributor shrink wrapped them over the top of it and sent them out to shops. And we were just like, oh my God, someone sent us a picture of it. And you're just like, whoa, yeah. So that was kind of frustrating.
Yeah, we've experienced similar stuff with the Biophilia records. I know Fabian, our package, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like a 20-panel origami. It looks like a CD. It's like that square shape, but there's no disc at all. And you open it up, and it kind of opens up to like this origami poster. But there's no disc. There's a download code. But it's like, you send that thing off to get reviews, and people are like, we're not even going to look at this without a disc. I know there's been a lot of pushback, like, we need a physical disc.
Well, a CD?
A CD.
Who is saying that?
There's apparently many hundreds of reviewers. I know, it's crazy. It is shocking because...
When's the last time anyone here bought a CD?
Exactly, but... but the whole thing is, in a way, beautiful because it's an opportunity to, start, that conversation with somebody like, well, like what you just said, like, really, you need a CD? Like, where do you listen to CDs?
That's bizarre. I'm surprised to hear that.
But there's
It's jazz media. I think we would have eliminated manufacturing CDs a while ago if it wasn't for like jazz media.
Honestly, that's true.
In the US.
I know some free jazz artists who are pretty big in the scene. They don't know what's going on. They're brilliant, though.
It's like, I think it's quite interesting because like I've had a debate going around my mind about like physical product and you feel sometimes the most sustainable thing would be to stop making it, but like the artists that we work with, they need to earn a living, and also I feel that consumers really like to buy things. So we also experimented with a beautiful like limited edition screen print of the artwork with like a download code tagged to the back, and we marketed it as a like low carbon footprint way of like buying the music and supporting the artist.
It's awesome.
Okay, before we open it up for questions, I would like to know, I remember I was taking a flight one time and I talked to a flight attendant. We just kind of hit it off, and I was like, well, what's one thing that you wish all passengers would do or knew or something? And she was like, we could clean these planes, or we could rotate a lot faster if people would just put their seatbelts, if they would just fold their seatbelts onto the seat whenever they left. Okay, that's really nice. So I say that every chance I get, and then I do it. So, just any thoughts about what's one thing in respect to your world that you wish more people knew or did?
Well, happy to start. And also, I guess a quick note on challenges that comment reminds me of is hygiene. And so I know we were speaking about this with Emily earlier, but in some cases, hygiene laws can also be a barrier. When we work with hotels, sometimes they're really... not necessary. And in some cases, there's a perceived hygiene law or liability in terms of, can I donate food? What if somebody gets sick if I donate food? Am I using a reusable cup? How can we refill it without touching the rim of that cup? Oh no, you can just get a new one every time. Or, some of these issues, even with hotels looking at shampoo and conditioner and refillable containers in the showers and things like that. So I would say hygiene is an issue, and so that's something that we're constantly battling. Of course, we need to be conscious of how germs spread and to be wary of that. But I think there's also a lot of these unnecessary barriers to sustainability. And so that's just one note that we've picked up in the industry that wasn't immediately obvious otherwise. So, maybe note that in your own industries and in your own personal life and what you can eliminate that's not so necessary. You don't need a plastic straw wrapped in a plastic wrapper, for example. And you see that across East Asia as just this obsession with hygiene as well. Anyway, so that's one note. In terms of one action that everyone here can do today, I would like to stay focused on the water bottles. I think that's a really easy way. I think it's a great first step to start tackling your own single-use plastic consumption, especially in a city like New York where the drinking water is so clean. We're blessed to have some of the cleanest city drinking water in the country. So bring your reusable bottle and start inspiring those around you.
Yeah, we're actually using canned water now because they inspired us, and yeah, it's saving thousands and thousands and thousands of bottles a week, really. I mean, it's still aluminum cans, but I guess they're 95% more likely to be recycled.
Yeah, there's a value to the material, so it's the best option for recyclable. Yeah.
I think I was talking to someone yesterday who was like, I was saying I was doing this panel, and he was like, there's no hope. Like, why are you bothering? There's no hope. And I think it's this, that kind of attitude. It's almost become like the new climate denial. It's like the climate defeatists. So I think like one change that I really hope for is that people just don't become defeatist in these issues.
It's a tough one. Like you were saying about hygiene, I mean, the Department of Health in New York City, they're like mercenaries. They come into your place and they're just hunting for money. Every time they find you for something, it costs you like $500-600. And like this whole thing with all those gloves, those rubber gloves and this and that, I mean, it is very frustrating. And I'm not sure what the solution is to things like that, but it kind of can deflate you, So then you have to like really amp yourself up again. I find myself going back and forth and back and forth. It's not just like, sometimes, yeah, it can be tough. But I mean, Oceanic has been a huge part of our inspiration for sure.
I don't know too much about this. This is just a sort of a side note, but there's this company TerraCycle, and I don't know.
We use them.
Okay, you do, yeah. We use them at home, and I think it's they do. I mean, I don't know a lot about it, but they recycle all kinds of stuff. My guitar strings, D'Addario, they recycle those, and then I was just going crazy, like having a family and little stupid gummy bear, wrappers for candy, and like it's like you're I can't put this in the trash, and so it seems like everybody should be like, if you have to use some sort of product that's wrapped in something, like you should not put that in the trash. Like you should, in the case of that company, you pay a lot of money to get the box, you fill it up with all your crap, and then you mail it, and they presumably recycle it. That's a cool thing, though.
They take used cigarette butts, and you just ship it to them, and they pay the shipping, and they make like shipping pallets out of it. We have all those ashtrays all around house. Yes, it's amazing. I mean, that is really. I think you guys put us onto that right now.
They're amazing. Yeah. They'll compost the paper and the tobacco, but then for those who don't know, cigarette butts are actually 98% cellulose acetate, which is a plastic, and so it's the most commonly littered item, right? It's socially acceptable to litter that off of boats or on beaches or really anywhere, so it's actually become a huge issue, and so using nightclubs and venues as places to collect those properly and safely, and then actually send them to a place for free that will give them a second life as shipping pallets, ironically as ashtrays they also create, and as plastic lumber. So full cycle.
I think every single trash can should just say landfill,
Yeah.
They shouldn't say trash. It should just say landfill. That seems like a simple thing to do.
Yeah. It's a totally growing conversation, and I personally get pretty excited when it comes down to simple things like that. The recycling cigarette butts and little wrappers. This idea of a gateway drug, I think, is just so powerful, especially when it comes to waste, because it's tangible. It's one thing if you know that a building you're in is powered by renewable energy. It's fantastic. It's another thing if you're looking and you're seeing reusable cups where disposable ones used to be. It's this beautiful shift in something that you think is normal. And I think we've heard really cool solutions in so many different domains today, and I just think it's awesome. And maybe if we have questions, if you guys would like to ask any questions right now, it'd be super cool. But just a quick pause in a moment, just a quick round of applause for our peeps here, man, our panelists for doing things in their domains, It's really awesome. Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions?
I've got a thought.
Yeah.
Just on the point of environmental impact versus business impact, and I think one of the barriers, but also solutions to helping transmute that gap and make these changes happen is the barrier being that people that really believe in sustainability will find themselves butting their heads against a wall with somebody that doesn't. For instance, my father, which I cannot believe, does not believe in global warming, does not believe. So it's like for him as a business owner, to get him to switch over to, for instance, reusable plastic cups or something, that wouldn't make sense to him. But
It would make sense if it was.
But in the sense of on the business side, if I'm not trying to push my views on him, and I say I can make you more money with this cup solution. So I think one of the things on the side of people that want to make more of an impact with sustainability is putting our beliefs in the back a little bit and figure out how to connect with the person that we're trying to help change something. So what is their pain point? How can I sell to them? How can I make that? And that's my roommate is actually one of these reusable cup providers. He does a company called Cup Zero.
That's the one that we
Yo,
use and
Michael's
love.
your roommate?
That's what we've been talking about.
Oh, great.
Really?
Love them.
That's crazy, man. We're so connected.
With these companies that I think the biggest barrier there then isn't even the money, and this is something that all humans deal with in our own lives in every aspect, which is bringing our fire high enough in ourselves to change a habit. The habit is the biggest thing to break. It's not getting sustainable or making more money, but how do I change my habit? So and the biggest pressure there is social pressure by getting more people with a shared way of thinking, saying customers asking at the venue, do you have a non-plastic alternative? Or me as a consumer requesting that myself, you know what I mean? So it's becoming, even the cigarette butt thing, it drives me wild walking down the street and seeing so many cigarette butts or somebody just throwing that needs to become a socially constructed thing where we know it's not acceptable. My wife is Japanese, and if somebody were to do that in Japan, I don't know if you've ever been to Japan, but it's like clean, brand new streets, because it's not socially acceptable. There's not even trash receptacles on the streets. You have to carry your trash with you until you find something, and then so it's a social construct that we just all need to be meeting like this, but share these things with other people in a nice way, not a contentious way, or you're an asshole for not understanding this way, but slowly presenting these alternatives in a way that boosts things.
I love that. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the optimism and positivity, and we try to keep that messaging rather than a shameful or a negative calling out to businesses, because it's all a journey and we're all learning how we can shift our practices. And to that, I would just add, in some cases, it's speaking to people from a business case, which I think more broadly would be really, really productive, and we should definitely get that P&L. But also from a human health perspective too. So talking to people, to individuals, and about the human health impacts of single-use plastic, how humans will be impacted by climate change, how we're seeing that happen today. And so it's actually really a human issue, not an environmental issue. And so making that connection and bringing it back home, I think, is also constructive.
One thing that every individual and every business can do to save money is just not waste stuff. And waste is just such a huge problem. I think something like a third of the world's food is wasted, and it's on our manufacturing, it's something we're really super conscious of, is just getting the numbers right and not having waste.
researchers on the road or Coldplay not touring. But given that, like, for example, a lot of jazz musicians, like independent artists, pretty much need to tour, they're often doing it on really small budgets. I was really interested in that Blue Rider idea, but are there any other, like, just small things that you think independent artists can implement on the road to tour in a more environmentally friendly way?
Yeah, definitely. So Reverb, that group that I mentioned, they're incredible at actually working with artists and helping to green their tours. And Billie Eilish also has said that she's going to, really be focusing on this in her upcoming tour as well as a few other artists, which is really exciting. The strategies that we can offer are really primarily on tackling single-use plastic waste, not only backstage and in the green rooms, but then also at the venue itself. And so we're in the process of developing some tours with artists, and whether it's in the past we've done straw-free tours, but wanting to push that a little bit further and to think about what else can venues at least commit to the night of that event, if not in the long term. And feel free to just loop us in and to work with them on changing those long-term practices, but seeing what we can do the day of. And also having proper waste receptacles and having water refill stations, so it's easy for guests to be using reusable water bottles or reusable cups if they're available, and looking at the way that musicians are traveling as well on the emissions piece, not just offsetting, as mentioned, whether you can buy great carbon credits for supporting amazing groups and planting trees or planting mangroves, but also looking at how you can actually reduce those emissions in the instance. And then also looking at the food procurement, something that came up too, but facilitating a more plant-based menu if it's something that does have food options, or including that into your rider for backstage as well.
I think one really interesting thing about touring that I think Julie's Bicycle came up with, who are a great environmental organisation in the UK, is that the biggest carbon footprint of the majority of shows is the audience travel to the venue rather than the band travelling to the venue. And so another really simple fix is to encourage the audience to come and see you in a sustainable way. But yeah, there's some amazing resources out there for touring and festivals to help advise people. Some people are like looking at like slow touring, just like taking the train. It might take you a bit longer to be there. You end up having like a more meaningful connection with a place if you're not just like flying in, flying out. I think it's like better for musicians' health to tour like that as well.
It's so interesting that you never think like what would be the worst offender, like the guests going to the concert. I would have never guessed that. It's always like that, I feel like. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm getting really excited about this. Like, have you guys seen that micro weddings are a new trend? Whatever. All these little new trends, they're freaking great. Yoga being a trend, meditation being a trend. These are wonderful trends. Let's keep these trends. Slow touring, that's incredible. That's fantastic. Yep.
Subculture, and there are all these plastic bottles on the stage for hours for every act, and then I got a drink at the bar. It was also in a plastic cup, single-use plastic cup. So maybe you could talk to them about.
In process. In process, and we have some ideas for next year, and completely agree, and how it's cross venues. But then it's an opportunity to engage all of these different venues as well, and hoping we can be a part of that new future for next year. But yeah, thanks for calling that out.
Thank you for the talk today. But I also had more of a note. There's of a cool idea that I saw in Barcelona. There's a festival there called Digital Festival.
Say that again.
Digital Festival, and what they do for some of the people that can't afford like a full price ticket for a festival, which could be like say €100, they offer people to go to clean the beaches to get plastic, and that's in return they get a ticket back. So I think also that's a way to get people to help and to sort of start spreading the message and getting people to care. So I think that's a cool idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, love that.
And it's also like a hang. Everyone goes to the beach together and hangs out, and then they get to go party.
Yeah.
I could totally see that catching on.
Have one of the artists DJing at the festival while people are cleaning up all the trash.
There's a crew in Bushwick that they do that. They bring like
Do it.
two hand trucks with 2 speakers on it, and they just party around the streets cleaning.
Literally.
Yeah, they are
Good job.
amazing, and they're having the best time.
Yeah, that's actually perfect. I wanted to touch on a couple of the things that I've heard in some of the notes, and I was going to mention Literally. Perfect. It's a moving dance party that it's imagine like if a Roomba was a party. It's so fun. Yeah, it's great. And then you're dancing across like down the street, and you're picking up trash, and then everyone just starts turning their heads, and it just becomes this little talking point. And you don't give people high fives because your hands are filthy. You give them elbows, and it's really fun. So that's a cool thing to know about. I'm gonna just list off a couple of things that I heard that are good to know about. So we heard about TerraCycle. They have a sister company called Loop. That's a system of reusable containers. Imagine the new Milkman model. Okay. We heard about Client Earth. That spoke to me. A group of environmentally conscious attorneys, right? Judy's Bicycle. You mentioned that right now at the very end. That sounded pretty cool. Cup Zero, a great company that implements reusable cups in events. Living Earth Music Festival. That sounds sick. Don't know what that is, but I'm going to look that up. I'm excited about Coldplay not touring. That was super cool. Not like that. That's not. That's not what I mean. But I'm gonna listen to more Coldplay now because of those choices. Because I can't see them on tour. Reverb Nation, Reverb, right, is a cool organization that channels big concerts like this in environmentally focused ways. Billie Eilish, I didn't know she was doing cool stuff. Jack Johnson's BYOB campaign sounds awesome. Digital Festival, of course, Endless Field and his brand new album, Alive in the Wilderness. Is that right? Any other cool little droplets that we would like to? House of Yes?
This guy
Oh, yes? No, don't even.
has this piece of jewelry. And this is actually like a tote bag for going shopping. I have one that's just like this cute little bracelet, and then it just like unfolds into this tote bag. I mean, it's brilliant. Honestly, you can wear it around all the time. You'll never use a plastic bag again. I love it. Totem, it's called.
Thanks. That's
That's
awesome.
his.
Yeah, thank you.
I was just going to say there's a good website that's just launched called Music Times Green. I'll put the link on my Twitter, but I'd created a Google Doc of all my research I've been doing into labels, and I've been sharing it with other people who run record labels, and I sent him that, and so he put a bunch of those resources on there, so anyone who knows of any interesting organisations, he'd be like happy to hear from you and put them on his website.
Amazing. And I'll do a quick plug for the Oceanic Standard. You can find it on our website, oceanic.global, under the Solutions tab, and that just has all of our resources for the music industry, for sports stadiums, for restaurants, hotels, beyond office spaces as well, so you can start with your own office space. So please do check that out and reach out if you're interested.
And I want to just add to that Oceanic has had such a huge impact on us and through us on Bushwick and now in Times Square, and they're just amazing. I really recommend going on and signing on their mailing list. Their emails are so entertaining. They're doing stuff in all the coolest cities at all of the coolest festivals all around the world. You could follow them almost like you'd follow a touring band. They're amazing. Thank you so much. Really, no, I mean it. Thank you.
Solid, man. Another round of applause to close us out. Guys, I appreciate it. And for everyone that came, getting up on Sunday morning, the fact that you guys are here means that y'all are doing something really cool and badass as well. So thanks for what you're doing, too. And go ahead, Neil.
So thank you again, Amer. You're amazing. So round of applause for Amer moderating a wonderful panel. And then I just want to encourage you, Winter Jazz Fest is not over. It goes through the weekend. There's some incredible stuff. There's a whole marathon in Brooklyn that happens at House of Yes, that happens at Music Hall of Williamsburg. There's a bunch of different conversations still going on today at the Moxie Hotel, and there's actually one following this. There's a whole slew of events. So check out the website, check out Moon 31, check out Equilibrium. They do really incredible programming and quite a few interesting things. Future Meets Present, House of Yes, Oceanic Global. You've heard obviously from all of them. If you're interested in hearing more of these talks and supporting, talk to me. I would love to chat with you. This is the first year that we've kind of really expanded this talk series. We literally quintupled it from past years. So it's a big deal, and we want to make sure this kind of conversation happens. And thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you at the next talks. Yeah.